Hello, today we're talking about your favorite subject, and that is flossing. What is flossing? I decided to Google it on the internet because it seems like everybody's doing it these days, so let's have a look, shall we? People are always like, David, you're a dentist, you can't eat that. I'm like, yeah, but I actually floss, so I eat what I want. Mm. Okay, I just think that's pretty funny, but let's talk about real flossing. So a lot of people say, does it matter? Yes, it does. They also say it takes too long. Well, it takes 2 minutes, but not when you're first starting. So just know that it can be a really fast thing, part of the end of the day, right before you brush. Um, some people say they do it every day and they still bleed all the time, or they still have decay every time they visit. Um, to those that are still bleeding every time, I say stop cutting your gums, okay? that that may be the problem. No matter how clean your mouth is, if you cut yourself, you will bleed. So I joke, but really flossing effectively is going to reduce the bacteria in the mouth, and so you won't be bleeding anymore because of inflammation, but you're also going to stop bleeding if you're doing it properly. I actually had a friend just recently tell me that after he started flossing every day, after about a week, he was like, and I didn't bleed anymore. It was amazing. And I was like, hallelujah, it really works. And so I encourage you to give it a try. We're going to talk about a few things about how you can make flossing really effective for you. One thing is to make it into a C shape. Make sure you're cleaning one tooth at a time and go up and down motions 5 times. None of this like seesaw weird business that some of you are doing. It's not effective. So let's take a look. Alright, first thing we do, wrap the floss around third or fourth finger. Hold it with your thumb and your index finger so you can really manipulate it. Unfortunately, this guy wasn't flossing, lost a couple of teeth. So we're going to try to hang on to the rest of them. We're going to pop into this contact back here and then wrapping it into a C shape. So instead of keeping it nice and straight, pull on both sides. So we're cleaning just this one tooth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So notice how I'm cleaning not just that little point of where the two teeth touch, but I'm cleaning all the way around to that whole side of the tooth there. You'd be surprised that the toothbrush doesn't actually get a lot of those areas. So once you're done cleaning that, you go above the gum line. In here, all in this space is where gums should be filling in, but it doesn't really show that here. So a lot of times I see people flossing and they're all sorts of crazy in there, and it's like, ooh, you are just slicing all of that up. Meat factory now. Anyhow, then you go above the gum line, go back on this side of the tooth, pushing back on both sides. 1, 2, popping out. 3, 4, 5, up and down. Then you move on to the next spot. So it can take a while, but once you're fast at it, it only takes a couple minutes in whole. Some people like to use this guy, little floss pick. Here's what I'll say about it. You go into this contact, you're not able to wrap it around that tooth as much. It's not getting nearly as much tooth surface as if you use traditional floss. So you can't wrap it into that C shape as much. So it's not going to be as effective in cleaning, but some people are just not going to floss. So if this is what you're going to do, then sure, that's going to be more effective than not flossing. But here's another product. Just one thing I'm going to show. It's called the Floss Mate by Gum. This one's by Gum anyway, Gum. And you actually, it's very similar. You just wrap the floss around the handle and then bring it around and around and around and around. Anyhow, only downside is you can't just like twist this little knob to get the floss to refresh, right? But the reason I like this one is because once you go into that spot, you can pinch the handle, so you can actually make it wrap around way more than you could. See how it's like a really good C shape adapting to that tooth? whereas this guy, again, didn't do so much of that. So it's a pretty big difference. I'm not sure how much you're able to appreciate that in the video, but I do like this quite a bit more for that purpose. So something you may want to think about if you're struggling with traditional floss. Alright, just to recap, make sure you're using a C shape, that you're cleaning one tooth at a time, and that you're doing those up and down motion 5 times in each area. If you feel like it's taking too long, I would recommend even just doing a quarter or a sixth of the mouth at a time, and just do that each night, rotating each section. I mean, if you're only flossing once a week, then why not floss? Try to get in the habit of every night and just doing a small segment, and then over time adding, so eventually you get to the full mouth each night. If you're still bleeding after you feel like you're doing a good job and you're really watching and adapting and trying to make sure you're not cutting the gums, talk to your dentist. Try to figure out what's going on if you're still having bleeding issues there. To those who are wondering if it matters, I really believe it does matter. Just for those patients that I have seen, it can make a difference, but it helps both the teeth and the gums, and we have questions about genetics that hopefully we can talk about at a future date. Thanks for watching, have a good night, and hopefully you enjoy flossing before you go to bed tonight.